Good morning, hope you're doing well. Happy New Year. We've got a new year, obviously. We've got a new month, we've got a new week, we've got a new day ahead of us starting tomorrow. So the COT data is looking fairly bullish for the Euro USD in so much as that the net non-coms, the banks and the big fish, they have bought the Euro FX against the US dollar index, which we can see. Hopefully that's really clear that would be the Euro USD long signal. Okay, so you can see how the performance has, the performance of the Euro USD has been since that crossover. That's a few weeks ago, and it has surged. So that's the reason for it. A little bit of resistance here, and so we might struggle to overcome that little peak. But we've got a little way to go. That will probably be next week, and we might hit that next week, and then that could be like a resistance. But that's the Euro USD long signal. So let's look at the yen. And the yen, they've been doing bond purchases, and that could be supporting the yen. If you remember, Warren Buffett was also investing his money into the Bank of Japan's bonds. He was looking at the long-dated 30-year bonds. And whenever Warren Buffett gets involved, it does sort of send like a little bit of a shockwave and interest in that particular thing that is investing in. And he was buying 30-year long-dated yen bonds. So that was around about here. And whether or not it's come up since, it might have. But, we are still below zero. And we haven't got a crossover for dollar yen yet. And also probably worth noting, we are still below zero. Just to repeat what I just said, ideally we're above, and then we can be properly bullish on it. But that's quite a bullish move from the lows. Ideally, we'd want to above that zero. Okay, so let's look at AJ. Now this is of note because we might have the AJ sell coming up. It looks like we're going to get across. Where so much is that they sold the Australian dollar and they bought the yen. So you could look for AJ short this week. And I did post some stuff into Discord, and I did a pitchfork chart on the Australian dollar yen. So that might be worth looking at in the Australian dollar channel in Discord. So that's a potential scenario. So that's something that you need to keep aware of, that we could be selling off on AJ. And don't forget, this does link into risk appetite as well. And if we do rally on indices, AJ is probably going to do quite well. If we dump on indices and we go risk off, then this could be a good setup. So that's something that I'm going to be looking at this week, I think, and looking for shorts. If we sour on risk appetite, we might not. Twitter is quite bearish on indices. Let's look at pound. Pound, it did surge, but then we had like a knee-jerk reaction. So that's fairly bearish into much. We're below zero, and they did sell it, but it wasn't like a great move there. It's quite a subtle downshift there. So there's no indication of a crossover for pound yen or pound USD. And CAD. Oops. Oh, that's interesting. We might have CAD yen short as well. That's going to be something to be looking at. Look at CAD yen shorts potentially. You could probably wait for that to cross. So you could wait for Friday to see if you can get confirmation on that crossover. But it looks likely, doesn't it? It looks like we're going to get across those. We're going to have like a convergence of those two lines. So CJ could be a good short. Okay. And take CAD off. We'll look at gold quickly. Yeah, I thought so, because if you remember my video from last week, see how I was saying we had this like trend line break? You could argue we had like a break. And so that's that. And they've decided to buy gold, which is fine. Maybe a little bit of resistance up here. You see like a channel bottom. So we might be coming up here, if that makes sense. So we created like a channel, didn't we? Then we had the break of that channel. Did cat bounce, is what I said it would be. And we did fall. And then we made a higher low. And so I think what was going to happen is that this could be a decent buy. Keep an eye on the yields. Keep an eye on that bulletin that I'm going to do tomorrow morning. and we can get a decent heads up on gold. Things will have shifted over Asia. Okay, so don't necessarily think gold's a buy. Look at your charts and look at your sentiment as well. And the bulletin's going to be probably out this time tomorrow, because I'm struggling to wake up in the mornings because I'm staying up late. So I need to get used to the waking up in the morning scenario. So I'll try and wake up earlier than this. It's quite late. And I guess it is New Year's Day, isn't it? So take gold off. And then Swiss franc, I think we'll be sideways. We are consolidating. We're just ranging. There isn't any particular trend there. So there isn't anything to be said. It's just chopping. And the same with the Kiwi, I believe. Oh, put that back on. Look at the Kiwi. And then that's that. So still within that sort of range. So above there, 14,000 might be okay. We've got a long way to go. We sit at 6,907. Ideally, we want it above there. NU might be a buy. All right, so that's going to be a little bit confusing. If we go risk off, normally Kiwi USD would be like an indication for a sell if we go risk off, but it looks like the COT positioning is for a potential buy. NZD USD buy there, so that is really interesting. Let's just take a Kiwi off and then look at Aussie again. Yeah, we're miles away. New Zealand dollar is stronger than the Australian dollar, so you could look for that particular currency pair, that cross, Australian dollar versus New Zealand dollar, where AN would be a sell. That's that. So we won't be getting a crossover on UJ, but that's that. So hopefully it helps. Don't forget we've got a new tab, so we can look at the difference from week prior, and that's the summary delta from previous weeks. So have a look at that at your leisure, and that's it. So wrap up now. I will try and wake up early tomorrow. I can't guarantee it will be the case, but I will try. And I guess 8 o'clock should be fine, and then we can try and capture some of the data. And I guess in a way, if we capture the sentiment data before London Open, it changes at the London Open anyway. So really, I suppose we could do the sentiment analysis after the London Open, because we all see like a big shift on the positioning at 8 o'clock. So if we do the bulletin for about 8:30, and then that should tie into things, and then it should set us up quite nicely for New York. So have a great day, Happy New Year, and I'll speak to you soon.